Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Bo Knutson, and I work as the program officer for CLS Portuguese. I'm going to wait maybe 30 seconds as people continue to trickle in. I see the number of attendees is growing. So if you're at your computer, you want to step away for 30 seconds, you won't miss anything. We're just going to wait for some more people to arrive.
Hi, Bo. Oh, you can hear me now.
Yes. Hi, Annabelle. Good to see you and hear you, or hear
I'm
you
trying to
actually.
put my camera on. Is
Uh-huh.
that okay?
Sure.
I wasn't sure. Okay, let me try.
Okay, welcome everyone. Glad to see we've got a good amount of participants in the webinar. I can go ahead and start. My name is Bo Knutson, and I'm the Senior Program Officer for Portuguese, Swahili, and Turkic languages at the CLS program. I'm joined by an alumna of the CLS program today. Annabelle, I'm just going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Annabelle, and I did the program in 2019. I'm currently an Alumni Ambassador as well. And yeah, I'm excited to be here, and I'm sure you guys will have a lot of questions, so I'm ready to answer them.
Great. Thanks, Annabelle. Where are you joining us from today?
Oh, I'm currently in Arlington, Virginia. So I work in Washington, D.C., but still remote.
Awesome. Thanks. We'll be excited to hear more about kind of what you're up to now and your path from CLS a bit later on in the presentation. But I might also chime in as we kind of go through the slides and ask if you have anything you wanted to add.
Definitely.
Awesome. Cool. Okay, so let me run everybody through kind of what the agenda for today. We're going to start with an overview of the CLS program, covering some of the key components and aspects of the program that will be good for you to keep in mind. And then we'll give some more specific information about the Portuguese program. We are going to hear more from Anabel. We have a slide also where she has shared some information. And at the end, we'll be able to answer any questions that you have about the CLS program or the application process. We're also going to talk through some application tips and just kind of give you a timeline for what happens after you apply. Your questions could be directed towards me, about maybe some of the administrative things about the program or some of the programmatic elements, or you might be really interested to hear from Annabelle about her experience on the program too. So if your questions are directed to either one of us, you can just indicate that in the Q&A box or the chat. Great. Okay, so let's jump in and talk a little bit about the CLS program, give you some of the key components. So the CLS program is a fully funded summer study abroad program. It supports U.S. students in all fields of study to learn what the U.S. Department of State refers to as critical languages. These are languages that are underspoken and undertaught in the United States, and the U.S. government wants to, invest in participants to really increase the number of fluent speakers. Portuguese is just one of the 15 languages offered through the CLS program. If you are curious or you don't know the other languages that are offered, just go to our website and check them out. We're all over the globe. All right. So probably the most exciting thing about the CLS program and the hardest to convince applicants of is that it's fully funded by the U.S. government. The program covers domestic travel from wherever you are in the United States, overseas to the program site. as well as return airfare. The program covers applicable visa fees, the cost of tuition, room and board in country, cultural excursions and activities, and participants also receive a stipend on program. Alumni of the program receive undergraduate credit through Bryn Mawr College, or have the option to receive undergraduate credit, as well as a certified ACTFL OPI test score and a certificate to verify their language progress. That OPI test is an oral proficiency index, so it measures your spoken skills. I'm going to make a pitch to you here, just why study Portuguese. You're already here, so I know that there's a spark, there's an interest already to study Portuguese, and you probably know that proficiency in a foreign language really opens a lot of doors and helps you stand out to employers or in applications. You're here, you're motivated to apply, but I have a pitch for Portuguese that I can give you. Portuguese is the 6th most spoken language in the world. It opens a lot of doors to culture and commerce across Europe, Africa, and of course, the Americas. Brazil is the largest Portuguese-speaking country in the world, and it's an emerging global power with the world's 8th largest economy. It's the site of the Amazon River and host to just amazing biological diversity and an abundance of natural resources. So our participants come from lots of different backgrounds, as you can imagine, but there's lots of backgrounds in STEM and business and international relations. So this is owing to a lot of the diverse interests that they have and the diversity of Brazil itself. As many of you know, Portuguese is also spoken in Portugal, Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, Mozambique, Angola, and São Tomé and Príncipe. It has also co-official language status in East Timor, Equatorial Guinea, and Macau. On the right-hand side here, you can see that Portuguese does require a prerequisite, knowing a little bit of the language before you start on the program. Basically, you need to have 1 year of Portuguese behind you when you start the program in the summer of 2022. So if you're enrolled in a Portuguese 101 right now, and you're able to take a 102 in the spring semester, you will have fulfilled that requirement. I can also note that the prerequisite requirement requires 2 semesters of study or its equivalent. So if you have some other language experience, informally, there is room on the application for you to indicate that. This could be like self-study, tutoring, high school coursework, living abroad, or knowledge of the language from your home environment. So there are fields in the application for you to describe your experience and how it meets the proficiency requirement for the level to which you're applying. Great. And if anybody has any questions about this, we can certainly talk them through towards the end. I want to tell you about the partner that we partner with in Brazil, Universidade do Sul de Santa Catarina, or the University of South Santa Catarina, is the host of the CLS Virtual Institutes for Portuguese program. It's located in Florianópolis, in the state of Santa Catarina, in the southern region of Brazil. It's an exceptionally beautiful city. It's situated on a small coastal peninsula and a main island connected by 3 bridges. It's informally called Floripa by residents of the city, and it's home to approximately 400,000 people. Tourism is one of the big staples of the economy, and many Brazilians come to Floripa for their own vacation. There are more than 40 beaches there, and a real mix of modern and traditional culture. The University of South Santa Catarina, or Unisul, is a private research institution with 4 campuses across Brazil and more than 40 undergraduate programs focused on education, human rights, and environmental education. You'll have an extremely dedicated and driven group of teachers, language partners, and staff at Unisul. Your teachers and many of the language partners are part of the university community and the foreign language faculty and the international relations faculty at Unisul. And so they have a lot of interest in international exchange, and they're enthusiastic to meet and work with CLS participants. So keep in mind that the CLS program is more than just a funding opportunity. It's an all-inclusive study abroad program focused on immersive language learning. It's also a group-based program. Each of our partner institutes hosts up to 30 CLS students each summer and facilitates an intensive 8-week program for students that includes 20 classroom hours a week of language instruction, cultural activities, local excursions, and 1 or 2 overnight weekend trips. The program is academically challenging, and every aspect is designed to immerse you in the language and to maximize language gains. Throughout the summer, students agreed to only speak in the target language in Portuguese. Even if they are more closer to beginner level, they still will have enough Portuguese to adhere to that language policy, speak only Portuguese in the classroom, on cultural excursions, with the language partner, and during all program activities. So let's learn a little bit more about the language partner component. As we said, each CLS scholar is paired with a language partner. Participants meet with language partners twice a week for a minimum of 2 hours to get informal language practice out of the classroom and firsthand exposure to modern cultural traditions. This is unstructured time, but there also are, language partners have some ideas and some tools to structure that time to keep things moving. And we share practices from across language partners about what's working and what are some fun ways to spend that time. Because of the immersive nature of CLS, participants have a lot of unique opportunities to build meaningful relationships in their host communities. So this could be with your language partner, but participants also build meaningful relationships with people in their own cohort, in the group. Participants come from all over the country, and they have really diverse and unique perspectives. And so it can be really fun to learn more about your peers on program. As a big part of the program is the cultural activities program component, where participants regularly participate in activities organized by UNISOL. These activities include guided tours in the target language to important cultural and historical landmarks, meetings with representatives of the community, maybe artisans, musicians, businessmen, religious leaders, or representatives from social organizations. Cultural activities in Brazil have included excursions, visits with indigenous peoples, musical traditions, Afro-Brazilian literature and spoken word performances, capoeira, sustainable development and tourism activities that sort of help participants understand Florianopolis's own past with sustainable development and tourism. And here in the picture, you can see an activity that was organized by UNISOL and our resident director of Umbanda service. Umbanda is an Afro-Brazilian religion that blends African traditions with Roman Catholicism, Spiritism, and indigenous South American beliefs. Before the service, students had an opportunity to hear a short lecture on Umbanda, learn more about the rituals involved in the service, and have a Q&A with the priestess of the ceremony, who you can see in the picture. Anabel, were there any cultural activities that stood out to you or you found interesting or that you connected with?
Yeah, definitely. So we actually went to a co-working space. It's called Acache Incubator outside of Floripa. And that stood out to me because I had gone to co-working spaces here, but this one was very large, and there were a lot of smaller companies, women-owned companies that were working in the technology space in Brazil, that were also working in environmental projects, and that was really interesting to hear more of like the business side of these entrepreneurs and how they get their funding. I don't know, I found that very fascinating. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that and kind of highlighting that activity. It's a good one to highlight just because I think that the program tries to offer activities that are a lot more than just sort of touristic excursions, activities that really give you an idea of how people live, how people are making a living in the host community. Yeah. What's something new and exciting that's growing in the community, and that workspace where there are a lot of startups, tech startups and things. So it was a good example.
Yeah, no, it was great. I think they the program definitely tries to incorporate everyone's interests, so everyone from the cohort. So that's really cool.
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, so I want to mention here, each site has a resident director. The resident director, we sometimes call them just the RD. The RD is proficient in both English and Portuguese. I'm a former RD. I worked with the Russian institutes in Russia, and I can answer questions about that role. But basically, they're a person who is available 24/7. They live in the community with the group. They have a relationship with the host institute. They work directly with Washington, D.C. They're there to help you really throughout the whole program, whether it's with minor things or major things. If you need to go to the health clinic, or if something happens and it's more serious, they're going to be available there all the time for you. They can also help resolve sort of misunderstandings. There's a lot of cultural differences, between the United States and Brazil. And so sometimes the RD has the opportunity to sort of step in and, talk to students or talk to language partners to help them understand each other, basically. The RD is sort of an example of the really close and direct support the program provides to participants. We like to think that this makes the program more accessible to people who have never done study abroad, having that support on the ground, and having someone you can talk to if you're experiencing something or that you don't quite understand in the culture. Alumni of the program join a vibrant and engaged alumni community of U.S. Department of State International Exchange alumni and gain access to a lot of resources and events sponsored by the CLS program. There's a jobs board on there. There's a lot of ways that U.S. Department of State Exchange alumni network, and it's just nice to kind of have that community as you progress with your academic and professional careers. Okay, so all of this up to this point has been about the in-person program. And Anabel is also an alumna of the in-person program. But because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have had virtual programming for the last 2 years. And depending on health and safety considerations, there's a chance that the CLS program will be held virtually in 2022. And I can talk a little bit more about that towards the end in the Q&A. The decision has not been made yet. That gets made early winter 2022. And this is really kind of a Department of State decision, although we do a lot of consultation with Unisul, our partners in Brazil as well. If that is the case, virtual instruction would follow a very similar structure to the in-person program. It would emphasize the language, cultural learning, and building relationships between CLS scholars and the people in the host country. So that includes language partners. Participants continue to have language partners and meet with them 2 hours a week. They have individual meetings with their teachers. There's a cultural activities component. And we had a lot of really cool cultural activities this last year with the Portuguese program, including visits with craftsmen, artisans, meetings with people, representatives from NGOs, city planners, religious leaders, exposure to cultural traditions through music, art, and dance. So, we really do try to keep a lot of the great components of the in-person program, while also being realistic about the limitations of a virtual program. Participants studied 10 hours a week of intense instruction, so 2 hours each day of classroom instruction. And also, this last year, we're offered academic credit through Bryn Mawr. So it is a full academic program. I can answer a lot more questions about the virtual program towards the end, if that's if they come up. Happy to do that. So in addition to the opportunity to study abroad and take language classes on a fully funded program, there's lots of other benefits that come from participating in CLS. Participants do make substantial gains in language proficiency over the course of one summer. And this really, can open a lot of doors academically or to employment opportunities. Studying abroad helps you develop skills that employers are looking for, like problem solving, flexibility, and adaptability. All of these things help you stand out to employers, and they can give you an edge and, interesting things to talk about in a job interview in an increasingly competitive job market. Because of the immersive nature of the CLS program, participants also have unique opportunities to build relationships. We talked about the language partner, and we talked about how participants, get to know each other and, make friends in the program. Those friendships with language partners and peers continue after the program as well. Our participants some of them have similar directions. They pursue similar opportunities, and, they keep up their Portuguese study. We've had participants from the 2019 program return to Florianopolis, to study in person and meet teachers again. So I think that we do try to encourage students to consider UNISOL as their school. They're enrolled. Part of your scholarship pays the tuition for enrollment. So this is, your place where you're studying, and many students, build on that relationship by keeping in touch and going back. While participants, do have some program requirements, like we require a post-program survey and you have to take a language test. There is no commitment for federal service or employment in the U.S. government after the completion of the program. So this is a little bit different from programs like Boren. Alumni do receive a certificate of non-competitive eligibility for federal employment following the program. And that can be really useful if you're interested in applying for federal jobs, or you see yourself as having a career in the government. I want to talk a little bit about the application for 2022. It's open now. It's available at clsscholarship.org/apply. In order to prepare a competitive application, we recommend starting early. So, we have something like over 3 weeks still. So there's time for you to get started and really start crafting those essays. It's not urgent yet, but applying early is a really good idea. And starting your application early is a good idea because that allows you time to reach out to people on your campus, show them what you've got with your essays, explain to them your interest in the program, and get some feedback. Your application has to be submitted by 8 p.m. on November 16th, on Tuesday, November 16th. So you apply for Portuguese. So we do expect to have the program if we have an in-person program, we expect it will be in Florianopolis, Brazil. But it's important in your application to focus on Portuguese, not on this part of southern Brazil, because they will be evaluated based on your interest in the language, not based on your interest to go to Brazil or this part of Brazil. You only apply for one language, so you don't pick your top 3 or anything like that. So your application has to be for Portuguese. And the application consists of an unofficial transcript that you share from your university or college, 1 recommendation form, 4 short answer essays that are 200, 300 words each, and a personal statement that's a little bit longer. It's a maximum of 500 words. This recommendation form should be from someone who knows what you're up to now, knows your interest in the CLS program, someone you've talked through your interest in this opportunity with, and someone who knows that you're asking a recommendation from them. There's a field on the application where you can put in their contact information and their email address, and then you can submit that recommendation, request it before you submit the application. So it's always better to give recommenders a little bit more time. The recommendation is due a little bit later than the application, I believe on November 19th. But you'll see when you get on that application online. So I want to switch gears a little bit and kick it over to Anabel, just to allow her a little bit of time to talk about her background, her path to CLS, maybe some of her experiences on program and how that led to what she's doing now. So Anabel, take it away.
Thank you, Bill. So I became interested in the CLS program because I had been studying Portuguese before, and I actually had gone to Brazil. But at this time, this was in 2018 that I found out that the CLS would actually be open to Portuguese. So I was very excited to really hone in on my skills and bring them up to advanced. I first of all, I became interested in Portuguese in high school because I was a soccer player, and I just really loved the Brazilian team. So I just really wanted to know more about Brazilian culture. But then I started learning that Portuguese was not only spoken in Brazil, spoken in other countries, and that was really what intrigued me to continue studying Portuguese. Then ultimately, what led me to apply for the CLS program was because at the time I was doing an internship at the State Department, where I currently work actually, but I was doing an internship in the Office of Children's Issues, working on international parental abduction cases. And essentially I really wanted to work more on the Brazil portfolio because they had very interesting cases. So I thought if I can really show that I can utilize Portuguese in a workspace, I think having more of the advanced knowledge would definitely really help with that. And when I applied, I was selected. I was really happy, and I had actually just graduated from my master's. I will say that I came more from the graduate background. I know it's open for undergraduate as well. So I will say I was a little hesitant at first because I wasn't sure how me being a graduate student would, or a recent graduate would work, but it was honestly a pleasant surprise. There were my cohort was made up of students from I would say sophomores, juniors, and then PhD students. So that I really think made the program just much more. Everybody was able to thrive in their own way and give in their own way. I found that very fascinating a part about the CLS program. Then when I went to the program, and I really I enjoyed the language policy where it just really helped challenge everybody to really focus on learning the language and learning new vocabulary, working with the professors, and also learning more about my host family, or everyone's host family as well, because we all got to know each other. That was a really cool part. I would say that my greatest benefit of participating in the CLS, besides having expanded my vocabulary and achieved the level that I have now, has really been the friends that I've made. So I do still keep in touch with a lot of my cohort. I actually, this may be more personal information than I should say, but I am engaged, and a lot of my cohort actually members, they were at my bachelorette party, which you would never think that 2 years ago, having gone to this amazing program, I would have made such amazing connections. So I think CLS is very different from other study abroad programs because you really do bring it home, meaning you bring it back domestically. And one way for me to continue doing that has been being an alumni ambassador, just showing how much I enjoy the program, but also just focusing on Portuguese and Brazilian culture. I know that was a lot, but I hope that made sense.
No, that was great. Thank you. I think you hit on a lot of the really cool things that can help, I think, attendees and people who are interested in the program understand the long-term value and kind of the experiences that CLS can lead to.
Yeah.
So as you're listening to Anabel, feel free to ask any questions to her about her experiences on program, or her thoughts about applying to CLS, what goes into an application. She's a great resource, and congratulations, Anabel, too.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
you so much. Appreciate it.
Sure. So we can. Oh, sorry. Go on.
Oh no, I think. Okay, no, that's not a question. Go ahead.
Okay. We can pivot a little bit and talk about how to succeed in getting a CLS scholarship. You know, you're in the middle of this application process now, so I want to give you some useful information to think about as you put your application together. Successful applicants for the program come from a really wide range of backgrounds and represent the diversity of the United States abroad. So, you know, your background and your perspective, your unique experiences can help your application stand out. The program does place emphasis on students who are prepared for rigorous academic challenges and an intensive program. So the intensive nature of the program's academically rigorous. There is no GPA minimum requirement. However, evaluators of your application will look at your transcript, and so, you know, they will see trends. So, you know, if you have a really good GPA, but, you know, for whatever reason, the last semester you're trending down, they'll notice that. Or if you have a, you know, middle or low GPA, but you're trending upwards, they'll notice that. So I think everyone tries to understand your application in the context of, you know, where you are in your studies. In your application, it's very important to show that you can succeed on CLS. So this doesn't just mean addressing your ability to study intensively. It also means describing your skills in adapting to new environments. CLS is a group program, so maybe you had to adapt to a group environment before, or, you know, you were in a community of new people and you had to kind of navigate that new environment. Perhaps it was a different culture, or sort of like there were a lot of cultural differences in this environment. That's all relevant for you to talk about in your essays. You want to show that examples from your own life where, you know, you had to adapt, where you weren't in charge of everything. You had to sort of show some flexibility. This is important in cross-cultural experiences, and it's the essays are an opportunity for you to show your maturity in handling that. You should also show that you're motivated to continue studying Portuguese after the program. You know, there's no magic wand, and we can't make someone magically fluent in 2 months. So that means, you know, you're going to need to talk about how you plan to continue studying Portuguese after you return to the United States after the program. Maybe your campus doesn't offer Portuguese. Well, then you would try to write about ways that you could continue studying Portuguese, you know, not in the classroom. Perhaps there's other resources that you can access in your community. Maybe you live close to a large city where there are going to be native speakers. If you do a little bit of research on what those resources might be, you can mention it in your application, and it will make the application stronger. Finally, and most importantly, you need to make a really strong and clear connection between Portuguese, speaking and using Portuguese, and your career or your academic goals. So if you want to use Portuguese in your academic research, great. You should also have some ideas about how you would continue using it in your professional career. This also really is stronger if you do some research. So, you know, what fields do Americans use Portuguese in? You know, what are some of the examples that you could find online, or, you know, through doing a bit of research? And then how does that intersect with your own plans? Maybe your plans for using Portuguese are quite unique and, you know, specific to your own interests and to your own background. That's fine. You just articulate it in your essays. This intersection of career and language skills doesn't have to be super specific, but if you're farther along in your academic path, like if you're a PhD, you should have more clear idea of how you would apply your language skills. You know, if you're a sophomore or freshman and your ideas are more general, that's good. That's going to be fine, but you're still going to want to try to flesh it out as much as you can. We can talk about that a little bit more if there are questions towards the end. So I want to talk you through the timeline for applying to CLS. Applicants for the program submit their applications by November 16th, 2021, so next month, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. By late January 2022, every applicant will be notified of whether or not they have advanced to the semifinalist round of evaluation. Then we go through the semifinalist evaluation, and notification for finalists is done by email, probably in early March. Everyone who is in the semifinalist round of evaluation gets an email in early March. You're going to get an email saying whether you are a declined candidate, which means you'd have to apply for next year, an alternate candidate, or a finalist. Finalists have 2 weeks to make a decision whether they want to do the program. And then alternate candidates are promoted when finalists decline the opportunity. So this always happens. For whatever reason, people have other plans or people can't do the program. In that event, we promote an alternate candidate. We will know whether the program is virtual or in person by notification. So when you get notified about the program and you get an email about being an alternate or a finalist, you will know whether you're being offered a virtual program or an in-person program. The application can be found here. There's the website. If you haven't been to the application, look through it yet, I recommend just going there today and familiarizing yourself with it, even if you're not going to apply today or not starting your essays today. You can copy out the essay questions into a Microsoft Word document. Sometimes it's easier just having that in a Word document rather than logging in every time. It can be really useful too, just to get exposed to it, so that you don't procrastinate until the last minute, which lots of people always do. The program runs from June to August. If you want more specific information on those program dates, you can go to the website and get an idea of when it started last year. It's usually mid-June to mid-August, so solid 2 months. Okay, we now are at the point in the presentation we can answer questions. I'm gonna look in the Q&A box, but also if you have any questions for Anabel or things you just kind of would like to hear her talk about more generally, feel free just to jump in the chat and write a question there. So
ask away.
we have a question for you, Anabel. What resources and people helped you the most when you were applying?
That's a great question. I definitely utilized my academic on campus. I forgot that office, International Programs Office. There you go. And essentially, I got to go to a couple of their sessions, and I worked on that. But then also people that didn't know me. I know that might sound very different, because when you think about it, the people that will be reading your application, they just they see your application and they want to get to know you, so they don't know you yet. So I think having someone that doesn't necessarily know you that well to read your application, just to see if it kind of tells a story, that would be a really good idea. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, great advice. We had a question about the program stipend from Malik. So the program stipend is given before the program, after the finalists accept the scholarship, and it's really different every year for different sites, and so we don't know what it's going to be for 2022, but I can just give you some context. For the in-person program in 2019, I believe it was for all the sites, they were somewhere in between $800 and $1,000 for the summer. So that money is designed or is for participants to more fully engage in the host culture, to do things, to do cultural activities, but also to prepare for the study abroad experience. If they need to kind of get some things to prepare logistically for the 2 months abroad. So it's not intended to cover rent or to be a substitute for a salary for summer employment or anything like that. But it's different each year. So if you're a finalist and you're offered the opportunity, you'll have an idea of what that is next year in springtime. Annabelle, we had a question for you. What was a challenge you encountered during the program that you did not expect?
Oh, I see.
Or put you on the spot here.
Yeah, let's see. I think that in the beginning, I may have been very hard on myself in terms of just trying to get every answer right, in terms of, homework and with my professors, and um, just finding ways to better engage with the language myself, and maybe I would get frustrated with just wanting to say something in English maybe in the beginning, but I think that the challenge was um, very it was good for me, but I honestly didn't anticipate to for that to be a challenge, because I had gone to Brazil before, so I thought that it would be good, but I definitely struggled with that at first. But I will say it was the challenge that I needed. And I will add, so after that, after my Brazil experience, I currently I'm actually doing the CLS refresh, which is has been a really cool opportunity to just re-engage with my Portuguese. And I'm only doing it for a couple of weeks, but essentially I'm doing it so that I can take an official MLAT test at my job, so that it can be recorded that I have a good enough advanced level of Portuguese. So I think the challenge in Brazil really helped me to continue that self how would you say it, just continue to challenge myself, even by now that I'm by myself studying Portuguese.
Great. Thanks, Annabelle. Yeah, I think each participant kind of experiences challenges in their own way. But, it's a little bit corny, but challenges really are kind of often opportunities,
Exactly.
for learning things or kind of getting through something, and, challenges are quite normal on the program.
Yeah,
But, as I mentioned a little bit, there's a lot of support on program for
yeah,
participants. So
definitely.
great. We had another question, Annabelle. Would you say there's time for would you say there was independent time to explore Floripa on your own, to hang out with friends you have made outside of the program and explore your own interests?
Yeah, I would definitely say there was time for that. I mean, honestly, the program is structured very well, I will say, to to give you the language knowledge, in every aspect. But if you are the person like me who likes to really befriend their international partner, and like get to know them and get to know their friends, that there's so much opportunity for that. I became really, really good friends with my international partner because she was interested in other languages as well. So I was very invested to help her learn other languages too, which I didn't think that was going to happen. You're kind of thinking it's going to be a a take situation, but it's really more of what you make of it. So yes, I will say there's an opportunity for you to expand, and enjoy other culture activities, and engage with your cohort and all of that.
Great, thanks. Uh, Javier, I can also just add to that answer a little bit. We do sometimes get questions from participants asking if they can, pursue like their own research on program, like if they're a PhD or they're, a grad student, or putting together like a large research project. And we do try to discourage that, because, we don't want, we want our participants to be like able to fully focus on their experiences on program without necessarily, having their own research interests. Sometimes there are opportunities for like independent projects, and there are ways that you definitely can explore your things on program, obviously outside of the curriculum. But we want participants to have the time to really put into succeeding academically and getting as much language acquisition as possible. So there's homework each day. There's assignments that you have to do outside of the classroom, and so I think that is also a time commitment. Also, you want to have time to spend with your language partner too. So I think definitely opportunities and time to be independent, to hang out, to meet different people, to learn more from a large range of different people, and to explore topics that are meaningful and interesting to you. But we do try to ask students not to bring large research projects that are big time commitments with them on program, because that can interfere. No problem. Okay, any other questions or anything that's on your minds about the program? Yes, great questions. Thank you. It's always good to ask about the challenges. Get a little bit more of a unvarnished answer. So Javier asked if the program is in person, will there be host families? This is a tough question. We don't know the answer yet, but there's a chance that if we are in person in 2022, it might logistically be very difficult to provide host families for all students, only because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we did have a participant in 2019 that was unable to live with a host family, and we were able to accommodate that person in a hotel, and then they were able to meet for cultural activities with a host family that they were able to hang out with on the weekends and have dinner with, but not physically live with them. So if participants don't live with host families, in an in-person program, we would still attempt to provide for some of those relationships and those immersion opportunities. It's tough to say, though. Anything with any right now, the situation is pretty fluid with Brazil. If you want to sort of track the situation, I would recommend going to the CDC Brazil page. You can see the travel advisory warning there for Brazil, and read about the situation in the country as it relates to COVID-19. I know they've turned it around in a lot of ways this year after a very bad start to their reaction to the virus. So I think there's reasons to be optimistic, but we're preparing for an in-person program, but we will be prepared to offer a virtual program as well. Yes, so there will be announcements on the website in late winter, probably. This will be late February, early March. This announcements probably will happen right around the time that finalists get notified. So as you put your applications together, you can put them together for an in-person program. You don't have to sort of, address a virtual program at all in your application. You would apply. You would find out down the line what the opportunity is that you're being offered. That's right. I just want to add that if you have any questions that come up as you're applying and you're going through the application process, you can email us. The address, our email address is cls@americancouncils.org. You can call us. Our number is there on the website too. We usually answer questions in the same day, and we can address your particular circumstances if you have a real specific question. We've put a lot of time and resources into creating support for you in applying. So I really recommend you go to the YouTube channel for CLS and watch an application tips video. It's a video that we refresh every year. It's about 15 minutes long, and it goes through all the essay questions and talks about how you can best answer them, how you can use your own experiences, what you should consider before answering. Not everybody who applies watches that video. So I think you'll have an advantage if you watch that video as you're putting your essays together. We're also pretty active on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can go to Instagram and see experiences of our participants from the virtual program, but also from the in-person program in 2019. You can also use the hashtag, I believe it's hashtag CLS Portuguese. And then you can see all the pictures that participants have posted using that hashtag. There's some nice stuff from the virtual program too that can give you an idea of their experiences. And then the pictures, of course, from 2019 from Brazil are very beautiful. The program dates will be announced in early March, around the time of notification. So that's a question from Frida. But generally speaking, you can plan on that program being mid-June to mid-August. Okay. I want to thank everyone for joining today. If there's questions that you still have on your mind, do write down the email address, or you can find our contact information on the website and just reach out to us. We're happy to talk anything through and answer any questions you might have. If you have a question that's related specifically to Portuguese, that email is going to get forwarded to me, and I'll probably be the one responding. So I'm happy to be able to help with that too. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day, rest of your week. Muito obrigado. And we look forward to seeing your application and hopefully seeing you as a finalist on the program.
Yes, everyone, good luck.
And thank you, Anabel, for joining us and for your perspective and generosity in sharing your experiences. It was great to have you.
Of course. No, thank you. Thank everybody.
Okay. Ciao, everyone. I'm signing off. Bye-bye.
Bye.